The House will come to order. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate, Madam Speaker. I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file, herewith returned, as amended by the Senate, in which amendments to concurrence of the House is respectfully requested. House File Number 3845, an act relating to children and families. The message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate. Hanson J. moves that the House concur in the Senate amendments to House File Number 3845 and that the bill be repassed as amended by the Senate.
I recognize the author, the member from Dakota, Representative Hanson J.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, members. This concurrence was due to some drafting differences. Overall, the bill is exactly the same as what we passed out of the chamber a couple of Fridays ago enthusiastically, and so I encourage your support. Thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion to concur say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. The motion prevails. All right, third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 3845, as amended by the Senate.
Any further discussion? There being no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the names of the members who haven't voted yet.
Anderson.
Anderson, aye.
Anderson,
Anderson,
aye.
aye.
Anderson, aye. Bliss.
Bliss, aye.
Bliss, aye. Fisher.
Fisher, aye.
Fisher, aye. Frazier.
Frazier, aye.
Frazier, aye. Freiberg.
Freiberg votes yes.
Freiberg, aye. Gomez. Gomez, aye. Gruenhagen.
Gruenhagen, aye.
Gruenhagen, aye. Hamilton.
Hamilton, I.
Hamilton, I. Hassan. Hassan. Houseman.
Houseman, aye.
Houseman, I. Hollins.
Collins, aye.
Hollins, I. Hornstein.
Hornstein, aye.
Hornstein, I. Howard. Howard. Creshaw.
Creshaw, I.
Creshaw, I. Mariani. Mariani. Mason.
Mason, aye.
Mason, I. Pearson.
Pearson, I.
Pearson, I. Pinto.
Pinto, aye.
Pinto, I. Sandell.
Sandell, aye.
Sandell, I. Thompson.
Thompson, aye.
Thompson, I. Zhang Ti.
Zhang Ti, I.
Zhang Ti, I. Speaker Hartman. Speaker Hartman.
Speaker Hartman, aye.
Speaker Hartman, I. Hassan.
Hassan, aye.
Hassan, I. Howard. Howard, I. Mariani. Mariani.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 127 ayes and 4 nays, the bill is repassed as amended by the Senate and its title agreed to. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate, Madam Speaker. I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file, herewith returned as amended by the Senate, in which amendments to concurrence of the House is respectfully requested. Senate File Number 3768, an act relating to civil law. The message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate. Koegel moves that the House concur in the Senate amendments to House File Number 3768 and that the bill be repassed as amended by the Senate.
I recognize the author, the member from Anoka, Representative Koegel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, this is the bill that we voted on last week, I believe, on structured settlements. The main difference was mainly stylistic, and so I ask for your support in the concurrence. Thank you.
Discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion to concur, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The motion prevails. The clerk will give the bill its third reading as amended by the Senate.
Third reading, House File Number 3768, as amended by the Senate.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. Members, please vote. The clerk will call the names of the members who haven't voted yet.
Anderson.
Anderson, I.
Anderson, I.
Anderson, I.
Baker. Baker. Bliss.
Bliss, aye.
Bliss, aye. Fisher.
Fisher, aye.
Fisher, aye. Frazier.
Frazier, aye.
Frazier, aye. Freiberg.
Freiberg votes yes.
Freiberg, aye. Greenman. Greenman, aye. Gruenhagen.
Gruenhagen, aye.
Gruenhagen, aye. Hamilton.
Hamilton, aye.
Hamilton, aye. Hassan.
Hassan, aye.
Hassan, aye. Hausman.
Houseman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Hollins.
Collins, aye.
Hollins, aye. Hornstein.
Hornstein, aye.
Hornstein, aye. Creshaw.
Grisha, aye.
Creshaw, aye. Lucero. Lucero. Mariani. Mariani. Mason.
Mason, aye.
Mason, aye. Pinto.
Pinto, aye.
Pinto, aye. Quam. Quam, aye. Robbins. Robbins, aye. Sandell.
Sandell, aye.
Sandell, aye. Thompson. Thompson.
Thompson, yes.
Thompson, aye. Zhang Ti.
Young T, aye.
Zhang Ti, aye. Speaker Hartman.
Speaker Hartman, aye.
Speaker Hartman, aye. Baker. Baker, aye. Lucero.
Lucero, no.
Lucero, no. Mariani. Mariani.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 126 ayes and 5 nays, the bill is repassed as amended by the Senate and its title agreed to. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate. Madam Speaker, I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file herewith returned as amended by the Senate, in which amendments to concurrence of the House is respectfully requested. House file number 961, an act relating to labor. The message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate. Eklund moves that the House refuse to concur in the Senate amendments to House Bill number 961, that the Speaker appoint a conference committee of 3 members of the House, and that the House requests that a like committee be appointed by the Senate to confer on the disagreeing votes of the 2 houses.
I recognize the authority member from Kuchicheng, Representative Eklund.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That's my motion. The Senate took some of the language out of the bill, so we need to talk about it in conference.
Discussion? See no further discussion. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay.
No!
The motion prevails. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate. Madam Speaker, I hereby announce that the Senate accedes to the request of the House for appointments of a conference committee on amendments adopted by the Senate to the following House file. House File number 3669, an act relating to taxation. The Senate has appointed as such committee Senators Nelson, Weber, Bach, Gazelka, and Rest. The message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate. Message from the Senate. Madam Speaker, I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following Senate files herewith transmitted. Senate file numbers 2011, 3107, 3071, 4108, and 4191.
First reading of Senate bills.
First reading of Senate File number 2011, an act relating to education finance. The bill is being referred to the Committee on Education Finance. First reading Senate File number 3071, an act relating to occupational licensing. The bill is being referred to the Committee on Health, Finance, and Policy. First reading Senate File number 3107, an act relating to education. Howard moves that the Senate File number 3107 and House File number 2920, now on the General Register, be referred to the Chief Clerk for comparison.
Hearing no objections, so ordered.
First reading, Senate File number 4108, an act relating to commerce. Katiza Watun moved that Senate File number 4108 and House File number 4394, now on the General Register, be referred to the Chief Clerk for comparison.
Hearing no objections, so ordered.
First reading, Senate File number 4191, an act relating to commerce. The bill is being referred to the Committee on Commerce, Finance, and Policy.
Hearing no objections, so ordered.
That's okay.
Report from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration.
Winkler from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration, pursuant to Rules 1.21 and 3.33, designate the following bills to be placed on the calendar for the day for Wednesday, May 18th, 2022, and establishes a pre-filing requirement for amendments offered to the following bills. House File numbers 3955, 3255, 3400, and Senate File number 3288.
Calendar for the day. The first bill in the calendar of the day is Senate File 3540. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File number 3540, number 1 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to retirement, the second engrossment.
I recognize the author of the bill, the member from Hennepin, Representative. My apologies. Representative Nelson, would you like to put the House and the language in before you present your bill?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, I'd like to put the House language in. That's my motion.
The clerk will report the amendment.
Nelson M. moves to amend Senate File number 3540, the second engrossment, as follows. The amendment is coded DEA 4017.
All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The amendment prevails. The DE amendment prevails. Now on to the bill. Discussion of the bill. The member from Hennepin, Representative Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, this is the technical pension bill from the Commission on Legislative Commission on Pension and Retirements. And members, it's pretty straightforward bill. Article 1 has portions from Representative Hertas, Representative Luick, Representative Sedin, Representative Frederick, and Representative Farr. And what it goes into is about one section of it is the buying of service credits for military. They can buy up to 5 years of credit. There's amendments to the correctional plan that add 2 people or 2 positions that would be in the correctional plan. One having to do with the dental assistant, the other one having to do with I want to get this right because I missed it last time, having to do with a residential program lead. These people have, if they work more than 75% of their hours, they should be in the correctional plan. Section 7 of the bill, or the next part of the bill is there's factors in computing the annuity under MSRS for the unclassified plan. There's a few bills in here, single bills, one having to do with the spouse of a member that died a month shy of being vested in their pension. It allows her to purchase the 1 month of the pension, paying the full actuarial cost, both the House and the employer and the employee side, plus the accumulated costs that the bill is done, or the pension is done. Section 9 of that also deals with a Department of Corrections employee to transfer service credits from the general plan to the correctional plan after it was discovered that the employer misreported the employee and that should have been covered under the correctional plan. Article 2 of the bill goes into the Public Employee Retirement Association portion of the bill. It has basically two sections, one having to deal with the Duluth Transit Authority. The city of Duluth is buying the transit authority from a private company, and so therefore the employees there will become public employees. What this does is exempt them from having to join PARA. They're already in a pension plan, and they'll be able to stay in the pension plan they are currently in. The next part of that has to do with segmented annuities, and it's just correcting a problem that was created there, and that's what that part does. The next Article 3 of the bill deals with retired teachers' earning limitations. And for the next 2 years, it'll allow teachers who have retired to be able to come back and work and help alleviate some of the teacher shortages we have, and it won't affect their pension going forward. Let me turn the page here. Article 4 of the bill deals with the volunteer firefighter retirement. And there's bills in there that include from Representative Rasmussen, Representative Nelson M., and Representative Hewitt. The statewide firefighters volunteer firefighters plan, it amends some sections of that. And then now the Volunteer Firefighter Association will have 3 alternatives for vesting schedules from which they can choose from when they join the statewide plan from their original volunteer plan. If a retiree retires within the first 5 years, they'll use the old plan for calculation of their benefits, and it's just other definitions, procedures for joining the statewide volunteer firefighters plan. There's also changes that are made here from the volunteer firefighters relief associations, or from the state auditors volunteer firefighters association working group. And it just repeals some maximum benefit levels and makes some other changes to modified lump sums on those. And other ones that came out of the statewide volunteer firefighters working group. Article 5, it's about allowing advanced practice registered nurses to be part of the discussion for members that are disabled, have been injured, or are disabled. It allows them one more group of people that can look at that. It's within their scope of practice already, but this allows them to be able to make those decisions as whether a person is disabled and unable to return to work. Again, Article 6 then it deals with State Board of Investment. It consists of some necessary changement to there's certain investment professionals that work for the State Board of Investment. In those state classification, there are 2 classifications that are essentially similar, that some of the ones on those are in para, but these people will not be in para, and it deals with the language for that. There's also an adequacy study of the police disability benefits that's going forward. That's Article 7 of the bill, and Article 8 of the bill, just some technical clarifications and corrections. And with that, Madam Chair, or Madam Speaker, I will stand. There's some amendments, and then I'll stand for questions.
There are amendments at the desk. The clerk will report the amendments.
Nelson M. moves to amend Senate File Number 3540. The second engrossment as amended. The amendment is coded A3.
I recognize the author of the amendment, Representative Nelson M.
Madam Speaker and members, this deals with the article or that we talked about. I talked about the study of the adequacy of the police disability benefits. There's a cost in there that we put in Ways and Means to pay for that study. We're just adding that it's a one-time cost, that it's not ongoing. So that's all the amendment does, is it clarifies that as a one-time appropriation.
Discussion. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. There's another amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
O'Driscoll moves to amend Senate File Number 3540. The second engrossment as amended. The amendment is coded A22-0473.
I recognize the author of the amendment, Representative O'Driscoll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. This provision
ties back to something that the legislature did in the pension bill in 2020. We have asked if, for example, a school teacher establishes a 403B plan within their district, they have to get approval from the board and from the school in order to be able to do that, which isn't typically the problem. What has happened is starting in 2020, we passed legislation that these different plans would have to submit to the pension office the rates of return and expenses and the like that are associated with these plans. And since we've implemented this law, we've had a number of organizations come provide us feedback that it's difficult to be able to comply with this and to work with it, and that we maybe have got a few things that need to be cleaned up in statute. So what this amendment does is it delays the implementation of this provision to July 1st of 2024, giving the Pension Commission the next 2 years the opportunity to be able to dig in and to ferret out the things that are at issue and bring something back. By moving it out to July 1st of 2024, we make sure that no one is violating the law at this point, because the statute does call for that paperwork to be submitted. I encourage a yes vote, Madam Speaker.
Discussion. I recognize Representative Nelson M.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. And this is a good amendment. The Senate tried to do this in their language, which is why we put the House language in, and it didn't quite work out. But we need to do this to make sure that nobody falls into violation of the law. So I vote yes on the amendment.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. There's another amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Sandsted moves to amend Senate File Number 3540, the second engrossment as amended. The amendment is coded A2.
I recognize the author of the amendment, Representative Sandsted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. This amendment is actually a bill that we were not able to have heard in the Pensions Commission, although I have been in contact with the chairs of both the House and the Senate. What this bill does, or what this amendment does, is it would allow teachers from outstate to buy back credit for retirement purposes. This is on par with what we do already with the military. It is a cost-neutral bill, and it would help districts recruit and retain teachers. This bill has the support of both the TRA and St. Paul Teachers Retirement Association. You should have received a handout on that.
Discussion. I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Nelson M.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. And again, as the author of the amendment said, this is similar to what we already do for military people, allow them to be able to buy back or years of their pension. Again, it's a no cost to the plan. The person that's buying this back pays both the employer and the employee checks, and as well as any accrued money that those investments would have made in the plan. Also, members, I understand the states around us all have this provision in their pensions, and so this is a way for us to have reciprocity and to try and draw some of those teachers from the states around us to help fill the teacher shortage that we have at the current time. I vote yes on the amendment, please.
Discussion. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the amendment say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. There are no further amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill a third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 3540, as amended.
Third reading. Discussion. I recognize the author of the bill, Representative Nelson M.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. It's a good bill. Like I said, it's the technical bill that usually comes out every year from the Pension Commission, and I request a green vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the names of the member who haven't voted yet.
Anderson. Anderson.
Anderson, I. Anderson, I.
Anderson, I. Bliss.
Bliss, I.
Bliss, I. Christensen.
Christensen, I.
Christensen, I. Franzen. Franzen. Frazier.
Frazier, aye.
Frazier, I. Freiberg.
Freiberg votes yes.
Freiberg, I. Grunhagen.
Grunehagen, aye.
Grunhagen, I. Hamilton.
Hamilton, I.
Hamilton, I. Hanson, R. Hanson, R. I. Hassan.
Hassan, I.
Hassan, I. Hausman.
Houseman, I.
Hausman, I. Lucero.
Lucero, no.
Lucero, no. Mariani. Mariani. Mason.
Mason, I.
Mason, I. Pinto.
Pinto, aye.
Pinto, I. Thompson.
Thompson, I.
Thompson, I. Speaker Hartman. Speaker Hartman. Franzen.
Franson, yes.
Franzen, I. Mariani. Mariani. Speaker Hartman. Speaker Hartman.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 124 ayes and 6 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. Members, I would like to recognize our former member in the gallery,
Oh, I remember him now.
Doug Ligren from Bagley, who served from 2003 to 2004. Please recognize our former colleague. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 4030. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 4030, number 2 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to commerce.
I recognize the author of the bill, Representative Gomez.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, members. So I've had the privilege of getting to know a lot of you, and you may have, experienced my passion for some of the policy issues that I work on behalf of. I chair the homelessness division. I care deeply about people experiencing housing insecurity. I've worked on issues around police accountability for my communities. I care a lot about taxes and racialized economic inequality. So when I imagined what my first standalone bill on the Minnesota House of Representatives floor would be, I thought maybe it would be like a great housing provision, probably not a good tax provision, because we can't send those over to the Senate, right, Mr. Chair? But no, it is, in fact, the regulation of bullion in Minnesota. All right, so, and really, who among us hasn't been at the grocery store or out knocking on doors in our communities and had our people say, you must take action on this critical need for Minnesotans. You must clarify the policies that regulate the purchase and sale of precious metals in our state. You must align us with the Dormant Commerce Clause of the Constitution. Well, don't worry, members. Today we have the chance to do that. So, House File 4030 is in response to a lawsuit that was filed against the Minnesota Department of Commerce, and it limits the scope of our regulation to apply only to consumers and sellers of gold bullion within the state of Minnesota. Please don't ask me any questions beyond that about what this bill does, if I may. So, this bill pushes back on the tyranny of big bullion. It's pro-precious metal. It's not just about gold, it's about palladium. It is agnostic on soup. I believe it's pro-dormant commerce clause. It might be anti, I don't know. We'll have to ask the chair about that one. But I really hope to earn your support. Thank you so much, members.
There are amendments at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
O'Driscoll moves to amend House Bill number 4030. The amendment is coded A2.
I recognize the author of the amendment, Representative O'Driscoll.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker and members. The A2 amendment deals with the exemption that was in the original draft language of the bill for trade shows. And this is how folks oftentimes become connected to or learn about how coin collecting and bullion and soup and different other kinds of things are marketed and sold here in the state of Minnesota. Just seeing if you're still paying attention. And in all seriousness, this is something that we need to delete the language and allow trade shows to be exempt so that folks can get out, be involved, learn. This is how folks pick up a new hobby or get into another area of entertainment. And so I would encourage a yes vote on the A2 amendment to eliminate the exemption for trade shows.
Discussion. Representative Olson B.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. So this amendment is vital to the continuation and the survival of the numismatic hobby. And the reason why, and I'll kind of break it down a little bit, is I just got off the phone with one of my coin dealers, actually Great Lakes Coins and Collectibles in Burnsville. He's an awesome man, Lee is. And he said that trade shows, not only are they, like Representative O'Driscoll said, not only are they an area in which people enter into the hobby, but if we do not exempt these trade shows, they will actually die. There's 2 large numismatic coin collecting clubs in the state of Minnesota, and they put on some of these trade shows every once in a while, and that draws dealers from all over, including different states. And if we don't exempt them, the dealers from other states are going to have 2 options. Either they jump through all the hoops that we're requiring them to do, including surety bonds, which is literally a tax on these coin dealers, and requiring them to get their licenses, requiring them to follow all the regulations that the state of Minnesota is holding, which some of them are good regulations. I'm not going to argue that some of them are. There are issues with numismatic issues. There's some currency that's a little bit iffy, and also mostly in 2013, which is a long time ago, and none of the authors of this original bill are still in this House. But in 2013, the reason why this was the way it was is because there were people, mostly telemarketer coin dealers, who were doing some really shady stuff. And that's why it was originally created. Our coin dealers in the state of Minnesota are great people. They run small businesses. They do not make millions of dollars, and they tend to not be fraudulent in any way, shape, or form. And so what we need, here's the deal. If we do not allow other good, small-time coin dealers to come to our state to attend these trade shows without jumping through all of our hoops, these trade shows will die. And once they die, individuals like myself who got into the hobby as a Boy Scout when I was 13 years old and got the coin collecting merit badge, they're not going to play the game. They're not going to be a part of this great and rewarding hobby. Someone who likes history as much as I do, I get to have a piece of history. Every time I learn something about a battle or a situation or something within history, I can have a little piece of it, and for an affordable price, because this hobby is doing okay. And so members, please accept this amendment. It is vital to the continuation of our hobby and to make sure that we have a healthy numismatic hobby in the state of Minnesota. Please support the amendment.
I recognize Representative Gomez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And this will be the only serious moment in this whole presentation, hopefully, but this does address the major concern that we heard when we heard the bill in Commerce, and so I'm really thankful to Representative O'Driscoll for bringing it forward. And this is a vital step to just protect coin hobbyists and smaller operators. So jokes about the tyranny of big bullion notwithstanding, this is the right way to go, and so I urge a green vote on this. Thank you.
I recognize the author of the amendment, Representative O'Driscoll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Gomez, thank you for taking the amendment. Will Representative Olson yield to a question, please?
He will yield. Representative O'Driscoll.
Representative Olson, have you ever in the past or in the future intend to do one of those late-night cable TV shows that talk about coin dealing? Because you kind of got that persona. Just was wondering if maybe others in the chamber were as well.
Representative Olson B.
Well, Representative O'Driscoll, I can answer that for just 4 easy payments of $29.99.
Representative O'Driscoll. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. There being no further amendments on the desk, the clerk would give the bill a third reading.
Third reading, House Bill number 4030, as amended.
Third reading. Discussion. I recognize the Representative Stevenson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, members. You know, I was thinking about this bill last night, and I probably could have talked to Representative Gomez before today, but I've just been very busy. So I wonder if Representative Gomez would yield to a question.
She will yield. Representative Stevenson.
Representative Gomez, thank you for yielding. I was just wondering, could you talk about, just want to make sure all the boxes are checked. Can you talk about the stakeholder engagement that you've done on this bill to get ready for today?
Representative Gomez.
Madam Speaker, not today. Thanks for asking.
Representative Stevenson.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Gomez. Well, maybe I should be more specific because I had a specific concern. It just kind of came to me last night because I was thinking about the type of people who might be affected by this bill. And we've talked about the tyranny of large bullion and the small coin collectors. But there's another group, and it might just be that I was watching some movies with my kids last night about the age of sail, but I was thinking about pirates. And you know, I just was concerned. I mean, if we have such a well-regulated gold bullion market in Minnesota, are we making Minnesota possibly like a magnet for pirates? I wonder if would Representative Gomez yield to answer that question?
She will. Representative Stevenson.
So I'm just wondering, are we going to have pirate trouble in Minnesota if we pass this bill?
Representative Gomez.
Well, as you may have heard on this House floor many times, even the most minor change to our regulations or incentives in the state can cause giant waves of migration. So, and I mean, we have one here with us today. So thank you.
Representative Stevenson.
Well, thank you. It's late in the game. I don't know if there'll be a conference committee on this bill or, you know, if this is a new area of interest for you, perhaps you can consider follow-up legislation on the pirate problem. But I would encourage members to vote yes on the bill.
I recognize the member from Carver, Representative Nash.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would the author yield?
She will yield. Representative Nash.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the author, in lines 3.24 through 3.27, it talks about a dealer responsibility for actions. What sort of actions could be taken against the dealer for any violation of this chapter by dealer representatives? Deeply concerning, not wanting to perpetuate tyranny, maybe for chicken bullion or beef bullion, but certainly very interested in what sort of actions could be taken.
Representative Gomez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Nash, for the important question. I would just draw your attention to the product that's called Better Than Bullion on the shelves. It's really like, and then you don't even have to worry about it. You know what I mean? So, thank you.
Representative Nash.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Perhaps bone bullion or bone broth, perhaps. Congratulations on your first bill.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Long.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Representative Gomez and I have had some words about this bill in the past, and I think she knows some of my concerns. So I was just wondering if she would yield to a couple of quick questions.
She will yield. Representative Long.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Gomez, I know that the Tyrian and Big Bullion is something that we're all concerned about, but I'm particularly concerned about the little guy in this conversation, and would like to have some clarity about the definition of bullion. In particular, I'm thinking about some of those historic coin collectors who are probably just trying to keep a coin in their collection and not have it as an investment opportunity. So I'm wondering if you could answer if the definition of bullion here would include pieces of 8.
Representative Gomez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Long. I absolutely cannot define bullion for you, as I covered in my opening statement. However, I do know that it includes products that contain gold, silver, platinum, palladium, or other precious metals, not to include adamantium, I believe, or any of the other superhero-related metals. Thank you.
Representative Long.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well, the second question I have, Representative Gomez, is one of the other hobbies that I've seen and gained some popularity in Minnesota is gold panning. And if I did some research before today, and howtofindgoldnuggets.com specifies that there's gold to be found in Minnesota streams and rivers with some careful and persistent panning. So I'm just curious if bullion would cover gold nuggets so that it might catch in its grips your average gold panning hobbyist.
Representative Gomez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Long. As Representative Long said, there is gold in these here streams. So, but if you're not selling it to anybody or you're not buying it, you're just finding it there in the stream, I don't think this applies to you whatsoever. So, thank you. Pan on.
Representative Long.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll definitely take Representative Gomez's comments into consideration.
I recognize the member from Olmsted, Representative Quam.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And to the author, we don't get to choose our golden moments. But I was going to ask you a question of where's the beef? Now that we've got that taken care of, to be serious, I was around when this bill came up the first time, and there were concerns about unintended consequences and impacts. This is a lesson to members that the original intent was because there were some bad actors. The effect was to really hurt a lot of the small businesses. Coin collecting and that hobby and that business is generally a little smaller. A lot of local businesses have been impacted, and I hope this is a lesson that we take to heart, that we look at the impacts, look at all the stakeholders, and avoid some of these unintended consequences so you don't have to come back and spend a half hour with a bit of humor to do just a little bit of good to fix something.
Discussion. I recognize the author of, Representative Olson B.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. This bill is actually quite concerning to me. I know that there's been a lot of jokes and fun stuff happening. This definitely is something that concerns me. And what really concerns me is the definition of a dealer. To answer your question about bullion, the state of Minnesota actually has two differing definitions. They have one that includes bullion to be identified as any coin, bar, round, or ingot that includes precious metals, including silver, gold, palladium, and platinum. So that's one of the definitions. A second definition is precious metals bullion, which is not taxed by the state of Minnesota. And that's talking about things that are identified as 99.9% gold or silver. So we've got two differing definitions, one of which is not taxed, no sales tax included. The other one, which includes actual coins, historic coins that are taxed, which makes no sense to me. Why should I give you $1.07 for you to give me $1 in currency back? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but that's a different story for a different day, and it's a bill that I possess and that I hope we can pass next year when we're back here. But being said, when we're talking about this bill in particular, this bill requires any person who handles transactions in the state of Minnesota that exceeds $25,000. Buying and selling in excess of $25,000 identifies you as a dealer and requires you to register. All right, and then you have to get a surety bond, which I talked with, like I said, my coin collector friend, and he said that his surety bond costs $2,700 a year. On top of that, he has to do his licensing. On top of that, he has to have a background check done for himself and everyone who works at his business every single year. These are all the regulations that a coin dealer has to have just to open their doors in the state of Minnesota. Now, $25,000, it sounds like a lot of money. It absolutely does. But in all reality, that's 14 one-ounce gold coins. 14 of them. So let's say, for example, your grandparent passes away and they left you 14 one-ounce American Eagle St. Gaudens coins, right? Beautiful coins, beautiful coins. But let's say you go to the dealer. Guess what? You have just sold more than $25,000 worth of coins just because your grandparents passed away. Because you're talking about buying and selling coins. Heck, if I had purchased $25,000 worth of coins for a coin collection, now I don't have that much money, so I can't do that every single year. But if someone were to do that, they would have to register as a dealer. A collector who has found themselves in a little bit extra money, wants to invest, wants to buy something that is hard currency, something that's going to be valuable into the future. Whatever you think about paper money, I can promise you that gold, silver, and platinum will continue to hold value forever and always. If someone wants to do that, if they buy more than $25,000, they have to register as a coin dealer. If they bought it and they put it in a safe, they have to register. All right? This is incredibly concerning. It was why people were concerned in 2013. This bill does nothing to address that. The only difference that this bill does is now we're letting the trade shows back on, which puts it back to the original. It tightens up a little bit of the identifying aspect of Minnesota transactions, which is one of the reasons why other companies outside of our state will not sell coins to Minnesotans. You can go online and you can say, precious metals, buy gold. And let's say you just want to hedge against inflation, how about? That's a great idea of things that we've been talking about recently. You want to hedge your bets against inflation. You go online, you say, I want to buy some gold, I want to buy some silver, something that is hard and will last. You go online, you type it in, you put it into your cart, you type in your zip code, they say, oh, sorry, we refuse to sell to Minnesota. And the reason why is because that business will not go through the hoops in order to get you the coins that you want, in order to get you the money that you're attempting to purchase. Like I said, money that you're trying to purchase, that's what it is. They won't do it. Now, there are a number of companies that will, like you can go on eBay. eBay is exempt based off of this because it's an auction site. They are exempt. You still have to pay income tax, which is pretty expensive and nonsensical, but you're giving the big guys like eBay the attempt to sell to you, but the small dealer from Iowa can't do it. And in fact, I buy some of my coins off of Facebook, and if I were to buy too much from one individual, they would probably have a problem shipping it to the state of Minnesota. Members, we need to fix this. It absolutely needs to be fixed. It had to be tightened up based off of the language from 2013, but in actuality, this is not tight enough and it needs to just be thrown away. So I would please recommend that you vote no on this because it hurts the coin hobby. It hurts everyone who's attempting to invest in something that is tangible, something that is inflation-proof, something that will not be devalued based off of a terrible economy. This hurts. Let's vote no.
I recognize the author of the bill, Representative Gomez.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Representative Olsenby was right in that none of the things that he talked about, none of his concerns are covered by this bill. Sounds like he probably needs to get his own bullion bill, I'm just saying. But I'm not going to get up and say, members, this is a good bill, you should vote for it. This is a decent bill. It's a fair bill. You should vote for it. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. Members, please vote. The clerk will call the names of the members who haven't voted yet.
Anderson.
Anderson, no.
Anderson.
Anderson, no.
Anderson, no. Frazier.
Frazier, aye.
Frazier, aye. Freiberg.
Freiberg, aye.
Freiberg, aye. Gruenhagen.
Gruenhagen, no.
Gruenhagen, no. Hamilton.
Hamilton, no.
Hamilton, no. Hassan. Hassan. Hausman.
Houseman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Mason.
Mason, aye.
Mason, aye. McDonald.
McDonald, no.
McDonald, no. Pinto.
Pinto, aye.
Pinto, aye. Thompson.
Thompson, yes.
Thompson, aye. Speaker Hortman. Speaker Hortman.
Speaker Hortman, aye.
Speaker Hortman, aye. Hassan. Yep. Hassan. Mariani.
Mariani, aye.
Mariani, aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
So it's 70 yeses, 61 noes.
Okay. There being 70 yeses and 61 noes, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. Announcements by the Speaker.
Announced by the Speaker, a message from the Senate has been received requesting concurrence by the House to amendments adopted by the Senate to the following House file number 3285.
Motions and resolutions. There are copies of the non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. If there's no objection, we will take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, the motion prevails. Announcements. I recognize House Majority Leader, Representative Ryan Winkler.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wonder if you could direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to come to the well.
Sergeant-at-Arms, please proceed.
Madam Speaker, I would like to read a House resolution honoring the service of Chief Sergeant-at-Arms Bob Meyerson. Whereas, for over 28 years, Mr. Meyerson worked for the Minnesota State Patrol, serving in various leadership roles throughout the agency and possessing an in-depth background in matters related to safety and security at the Capitol. Mr. Meyerson served as State Patrol Major and Captain for Capitol Security for the Minnesota House of Representatives. And
Representative Novotny.
Whereas Mr. Meyerson specialized in State Patrol executive protection and Secret Service instruction. He worked with motorcades that transported and protected presidents, governors, visiting dignitaries, and more. And
Representative Miller.
Whereas Mr. Meyerson established the Canine Program for the State Patrol, strengthening their ability to protect Minnesota communities, and served as a canine handler for several years. And
Representative Eklund.
Whereas in 2015, Mr. Meyerson joined the Sergeant-at-Arms Office of the Minnesota House of Representatives as the first nonpartisan Chief Sergeant-at-Arms in the history of the institution, shaping the role for all who will follow him. And
Representative Scott.
Whereas Chief Sergeant at Arms Mr. Meyerson served as a liaison with Capitol Security to always provide a safe environment for members and staff in House office areas, particularly during session in the House chamber or during committee meetings, and to ensure decorum and protocol. And
Representative Mueller.
Whereas Mr. Meyerson promoted, strengthened, and renewed the educational programs in the Minnesota House of Representatives to ensure that students and interns can come to the House to serve and learn. And
Representative Doubt.
Whereas Mr. Meyerson treated all with whom he served with kindness, encouragement, and understanding, while still instilling in them a commitment to the institution that he himself felt so keenly. Now, therefore,
Speaker Hortman.
Be it resolved that the members and staff of the Minnesota House of Representatives wish to extend our utmost thanks to Bob Meyerson for his dedicated service and wish him the very best in his retirement.
Members, please recognize Bob Meyerson. Announcements.
Madam Speaker, I would also like to announce that there is a reception for Sergeant-at-Arms Meyerson in room 316 of the Capitol immediately following session today. So I hope all of us can stop by and wish Bob best wishes and congratulations. And I just want to add one final note. It would be impossible to overstate the dedication and commitment that Mr. Meyerson showed during the 2 years of the COVID pandemic. We had to reinstitute this institution to operate in a completely different manner, and he was absolutely instrumental in our ability to do so. And we owe him a deep debt of gratitude.
Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 4 p.m. Tuesday, May 17th, 2022.
All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion prevails.
No.
Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Winkler moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion prevails and the House stands adjourned until Tuesday, May 17th, 2022.